Hello, Siegfried here again. Today's video topic is, what do I think about books made into movies? And this topic comes from my longtime friend Tracy. Thank you, Tracy, and hello. Okay. What do I think about books made into movies? I like them, generally speaking. I am not a person who is so, let's say, such a fan of any particular thing, be it a book or a movie or anything else, such that I think anyone else who touches it and tries to change it has ruined it. No, no, because they didn't actually change the thing. So it's right there. If I like the book better, I can go read the book. If I like the movie better, I can go watch the movie. I am not a slave to what somebody else's creativity tells them to do. So I'm perfectly happy. I have no real problem with people making books into movies. In fact, as a kid, I always wanted to see a lot of my favorite books turned into movies. I generally like to watch movies more than I like to read fiction. It's not 100% true. I still enjoy a really good fictional book from time to time, but mostly I read nonfiction and I watch fiction on TV and movies. And I love movies and I love TV shows, but I do probably 2 or 3 times a year grab a book and just read it. And there's a lot of advantages. I don't want to get into all that. But let's say I very much appreciate when a very well-known book is turned into a movie, because I can enjoy it in 2 hours, get a general idea for the plot and the story and the things that people like, and move on with my life, not have to spend a few days going through and trying to read a book. So I like that. But let's go on to, if you're going to turn a book into a movie, I think there's kind of like, probably a lot, but there are 3 goals that I can think of that I want to talk about. Number 1 is you just want to bring it to life. A good example would be Lord of the Rings. So this is something, it's a visually powerful story, and that there's all kinds of monsters, and there's great huge buildings, and there's beautiful terrain, and it's fantasy, and there's just a lot of visual stuff. And you want to take that and you want to create a painting, an image, a picture that moves to set the story in, and that just blows your mind and brings these things to life. And I think that's wonderful. It's what I love about science fiction and fantasy movies. I really enjoy that. I think it's a great reason to do a book that way, especially if the book involves beautiful things. Why not? Now, hopefully you also do well with the story and the characters and the dialogue, but bringing it to life is what you're adding really to the formula here. And I think that's perfectly fine. Same reason we enjoy illustrations in a book. It's the same sort of thing. All right, the next one would be to tell a story. I think a great example, one of my personal favorite books made in the movie, The Princess Bride, one of my favorite movies overall. It has some imagination, but it's not about the special effects. Most of those were pretty cheap, really. It's about the story and the characters and bringing what was really the heart of the thing to the audience. And it does a great job with that. It doesn't include everything that the book has, but it's got a lot of the highlights. It really gives you a great feeling for it, and you get the story, and it's wonderful. And the last maybe is to deliver a message, because books reach a more narrow audience than TV and movies do. That's just the sad fact, because there's a lot of people like me, maybe because of time, maybe because they just like watching and they enjoy actors' performances. They're more apt to see a movie than they are to read the book. So something like The Color Purple or To Kill a Mockingbird, or there's a lot of stories that have important social messages. And so creating the movie is going to get that message out to a lot more people and to make it more widely known. And so we may do it for that reason. And I think these are all perfectly good reasons to remake a book into a movie. The other is just you love the book and you love making movies, and so there you go. I think that's perfectly fine too. Or you're just looking to make a movie and the book is a good source of material for a story to tell, so you go that way. Makes a lot of sense to me. I think it's great. Let's see. Here are some things I think that are really good about making a book into a movie from a more sort of objective perspective. First of all is it reaches a wider audience, and so maybe these people didn't know about the book, maybe they're going to go and read the book now. So even if you really love books over movies, this is a good reason to make a book into a movie. The next is, I think it adds extra life to the characters when you have an actor portraying them. It can also take away if you get a terrible actor and bad casting, but get the right actor in the right part, and boy, it can just really add nuance and subtle depth to the characters that maybe your imagination didn't quite portray from the dialogue in the book. Sense and Sensibility, that's another of my favorite adaptations. Don't get me wrong, Jane Austen books, top of the line, awesome. Get some incredible good period actors, great costumes. Delivering those lines, so delicious. It's even better. Let's see, and music. That's something you don't get in a book, even with illustrations. It doesn't have music, and the art of music in filmmaking can really build emotion, and it can create lasting memories. And I think it's a great thing that you're adding to the story that you're not going to get in the book format. So I think that's pretty cool. Now let's see, things that can go wrong. And unfortunately, a lot can go wrong. And that's my first point. A lot can go wrong with adaptations. Making a movie is just a lot more complicated than writing a book is. There's sets, and there's design, and there's sound, there's actors, and there's lighting, and there's a million things that can go wrong and make it really kind of terrible. So it's much more easy to completely screw up a book than it is to say maybe you tried to rewrite the book or something like that. A little bit less can go wrong. So that's one of the hazards, let's say. Also, things get cut. Most books are much longer than a movie in terms of all the plot points and the things that are happening in the book, unless the book is written really slowly. So I think that's a problem, things that can cut out that you like. That's just part of the medium. Sometimes I think books adapt a lot better to a TV series than a movie, and unfortunately we have incredibly great TV series these days from HBO and these other groups. So I think those are really cool and sometimes a better way to go than an actual film. Let's see, yeah. So the one thing you definitely lose when you take it over is the magic of the language and the words. And some authors are so incredibly deft with the way they use the words, and there's poetry and there's style. And it's, except in dialogue, it's really hard to bring that over into film. You can substitute it with imagery and music and other things, but you cannot capture the magic of the actual text and the words themselves. As a writer myself, I think that's kind of sad. So that's the one thing you will never really be able to bring into the movie. You can kind of get at it through another way, but it's not going to be there. So I think that's a good reason to go back and read the book of a movie you really like, if the author is known for that kind of just beautiful use of language, kind of Shakespearean and artistic and poetic. Some authors, very straight to the fact, they just tell you the story, and they can be really good in themselves, but you don't lose so much when you translate their work. Let's say like Stephen King, not to cast any dispersions on the guy, he's great. He writes just a clean, clear, direct to the point kind of language most of the time. You don't lose a whole lot of that in translation. It's really the meat of the story and the action that he's all about. That translates a little better into film. Let's see, anything else? Interpretations can be wildly different. Of course, this is the thing that people hate the most. The movie maker has his own artistic vision. The person who reads the book has their own artistic vision. Sometimes these are totally different. And you're like, no, you've ruined everything. It's not at all how it's supposed to be. That's art. So if you don't like that, don't go see the movie. Just read the book and stick to your own vision. But it's nothing wrong with someone else expressing the way they feel about it, I think. So let people have their creativity. All right, we'll finish with some of my favorites. Like I said, I think probably my favorite book adaptation, the one that I know of, is Princess Bride. It's one of my all-time favorite movies. I love the movie to death. It's just wonderful. And I think it's a pretty good, faithful adaptation of the book. Biggest disappointment that I can think of, not the worst movie, okay, just most disappointing was The Hobbit. Now, I loved Lord of the Rings. I did a good job with the storytelling, beautiful special effects. Maybe not all the casting is perfect for me. I thought it was really good. The Hobbit, on the other hand, I think it's bloated. Steve Jackson focused on the action. He focused on those visuals, on bringing the battle of the three armies to life. Stuff like, was it 5 armies? I don't know. Bringing those things to life, which is really cool, but the story suffered a lot, and it really changed the focus and the nature of it as a simple tale of adventure, one small hobbit in a big scary world. A lot of that was lost in paying attention to orc battles and other things like this. And so I was rather disappointed because I didn't think it really told the story of The Hobbit in the way The Hobbit tells it. That said, I enjoyed all the spectacle. It was more like a Warhammer movie to me than it was a Lord of the Rings movie, but so be it. All right, well, that's what I think about books being made into movies. Have fun.